Welcome back to Tech Over Tea. This is episode 5 and I'm your host, Brody Robertson. So, I really feel like I should probably get an intro music, shouldn't I? Because it really doesn't feel like it has like a proper way to roll into the show. I might grab something off of like Incompetech or something like that where I can get some free music. Or maybe I'll just buy like a Monster Cat license and do that. I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I feel like I need to do something because as it stands, I don't feel like the roll into the podcast, I guess, really works. I guess some podcasts work with like a silence to instantly start recording, but I'm not feeling it. I feel like I need to do a little bit more to make it so the podcast, I guess, it just rolls in nicely. Shouldn't be too difficult to find something. But yeah, so I'm recording this on the Sunday before the podcast comes out because I'm going to be busy on Monday. I'm always busy on Mondays because that's when I've got my group meetings for my honors project. I've got my meeting with my client. I've got my just a bunch of other stuff to do as well. I think I'm working that night as well, which I don't normally work Mondays. But I've also got the lecture to watch for that day. And it's just a bit of a hassle of a day. Probably doesn't sound like that much, but it is a little bit annoying because of the weird gaps between them. There's not really a good gap to actually record the podcast. So, because of that, I'm actually recording on the Sunday today. The Sunday for this episode. I don't know why I'm drinking this. I've got a mocha here. Where is it? There we go, Dare. Not sponsored by Dare, but hey, I will accept that sponsorship. It is a Dare iced coffee mocha. They are delicious and they are really bad for you. So, I'm going to drink this throughout the episode. It's not tea, but you know what? I've been ignoring the tea thing for enough episodes now. I might as well just keep ignoring it. I do have a teacup with it had, yeah, there you go. You can probably read that. It had chamomile tea in it last night, but I didn't actually wash the cup properly, so I could still taste the other tea that I had in it before, and it was disgusting. But, yeah, that's just the problem of being lazy and not feeling like I want to wash my cups properly. So you probably notice the audio sounds considerably better now. You might not even notice. So what I did is there's a video on YouTube called, I think it's something like how to set your preamp gain or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact name, but if you look up how to set gain with a microphone or something along those lines, it should be the first result. And I realized that I was actually doing my audio completely wrong this entire time. So now, oh, that lagged a little bit. What happened there? So now what I've basically done is cranked everything down so that now pretty much, if you look on like OBS, there's a little bar that shows you like how loud stuff is. I've got it set to, I think roughly, when I'm talking at this level, it's hitting about negative 12 decibels or so. So I have plenty of room where I can go louder. I think it's, for some reason, it's a bit more sensitive when I'm doing the podcast recording than my regular recording. So I can't go as loud as I can with my regular recordings. Still have no idea why OBS is doing this, but, what was I saying? Right. I lowered the gain so I have like a much wider range to work with, because what was happening before was I was letting my audio clip and I didn't realize that I was actually letting it clip, so, and I wasn't sure how to fix it. Okay, no, I knew I was letting it clip, I didn't know how to fix it. Turns out the way to fix that was to just crank my gain way down. Is that lagging? I don't know. No, okay, maybe not. I don't know. So crank my gain way down and then basically just, I guess, raise the volume level in post. Because once you have a recorded digital signal and it's recorded with clipping, there's not really a way to fix that. But if it's too quiet, you can fix that assuming you have a clean signal. And because I had a clean signal now, I can still raise the volume level. It seems to be pretty much fine around listening at 50% on my laptop speakers, so it's not a big deal. But if I do need to fix that, then I can. So yeah, go check out that video if you're doing any audio work. It's a pretty straightforward video. There's nothing too complicated about it. The guy who made it didn't go into any of the like complex audiophile nonsense. It's just, here's how you set your gain, here's what you should be looking at doing, and this is why you should be doing it. And I had known basically nothing about audio, and I feel like I know at least a little bit more now, just that tad bit more that I know that I can record audio that isn't going to sound like complete garbage. So I can also do things like this. I can go like real close to the microphone, and it's clipping now. I don't like that noise. It still clips a little bit. I really need to get some WD-40 for this thing. So if you heard that noise, that was actually my microphone stand, and it just makes lots and lots of noise whenever I move it. So yeah, that's a little bit annoying, but I don't really have a solution besides getting some WD-40. It's not a difficult solution. I'm just lazy. I think we probably have a can of it somewhere, so I probably could just go outside and find it. But along with that, there's just some other weird problems with this mic stand. So it's literally the cheapest mic stand I could find. I think it was like $20 or something, which probably sounds like a lot if you're in America. $20 here is like 10 of your dollars. So just think of it like that. Yeah, so it's set up in a weird way. So it's not actually properly attached to anything. I can't show it to you because it'll completely mess up where my webcam's sitting, and I won't be able to get it back into a good location. But it's not actually like got any, I guess, rubber seal on the inside. All it does is just rubs against the metal. So for the first couple of days of using it, there was just metal filings just sitting on my desk, and I couldn't do anything about it. It's gotten a bit better now, but it's still not great. Yeah, you might be able to see it. Nah, probably can't. There's like little shavings of metal and paint coming off of it. It's not a big deal. It works. Probably could come up with a better solution for it. Once again, WD-40 will probably fix it. The bottom is sealed, so it's not going to leak out. I probably could just do that. Yeah. I think that's enough on my garbage audio setup. I like the Blue Yeti. I have had some people complaining about the echo though, and I know that you can fix it by just like, if I was to hang a sheet, is my hand in the frame? If I hang a sheet like back here, it's really weird because on OBS, I don't know why, so every time I record one of these, I have to resync the audio because for some reason, with my podcast setup, everything is always desynced. So for me, when I'm trying to like find stuff, there's like literally a half a second delay. So it's really weird to like, I guess, move around. I'm not going to be able to show it to you guys, but I might show you what it looks like. I might like upload an unlisted clip of the non-synced version. I'm not sure what's causing it. I think the cause probably has to do with something, or has to do with the way that OBS handles images. So I've actually got the images loaded up in OBS instead of doing them in post. That's probably the problem that I'm having. If I did them in post, there wouldn't be a problem. But because I've got the images there actually within OBS, on my laptop, it seems to just, I guess because my laptop's a little bit slow. It's not awful, obviously, but I think because my laptop's a little bit slow, it kind of chugs while it's recording, so it's always like a little bit behind. So I think that's the main problem with that. But as I was saying, I got completely off track there. The audio problem. If I was to like hang a sheet back here, basically that would stop the echo, but I don't really have a good way to do that. I guess I could get some of those like stick-on hooks, but I'd be worried about it like falling off the wall and then pulling paint off, and I'm not a big fan of that. But my room's also just a weird shape. I guess I could also, you're not going to be able to see it, but I've got like a bookshelf off to this side. And I guess I could like hang a sheet from the bookshelf to my closet or something. That would cut off that portion of the room, which is probably a big cause of the echo because that part of the room is just completely empty. My room's pretty tiny, but I've got really high ceilings, which is also a problem. So I don't know. There's probably not really much I can do to deal with the audio besides getting a less sensitive mic. So the Blue Yeti, the problem with that is that being a dynamic mic, it tends to pick up a lot more of the background noise. Yes, I can lower the gain, and I have lowered the gain pretty much to the bottom that it can go with this with this mic, but being a dynamic microphone, I think it's dynamic microphone, is that what it is? I'm not a big audio guy. Being whatever the Blue Yeti is, it picks up a lot of background noise, but you can get, yeah, it would be dynamic, because then you can also get condenser microphones, which are far less sensitive and typically will require like an external preamp and DAC. And doing that, they have I guess a much, what's the word? Tighter recording area, I guess, would probably be the best way to describe it. And it should pick up less of the echo, but the best solution probably would be to actually deal with it. But as I said, there's not really a good way to do it. If I was in my own place, what I'd probably end up doing, like I would have my own space set up for recordings, and I would get some of the noise dampening foam and just stick it along the wall. Now, that stuff is actually really cheap. Some people say, oh, it's expensive to get noise dampening foam. I'm pretty sure that... Actually, let's just check right now. You know what? We're gonna do this again. I'm pretty sure you can get noise dampening foam for like dirt cheap on eBay, and that's like dirt cheap Australian prices. So, obviously, it's not going to be any, like, name brand foam, but you're just doing recordings in your house. I don't know why anyone bothers spending tons and tons of money on recording gear. So, let's go noise dampening foam. I probably spelt dampening wrong. Doesn't matter. It'll come up. Noise dampening foam. You can get... What is this? One roll. How big is a roll? 100 centimeters by 50 centimeters and 2 centimeters thick. That's $21. So that wall, I think, is about 3 meters across. So I know I can get it cheaper than that. Because that would cost me about $60 to cover that back wall there, which that's not too bad. Especially if I was to layer it like vertically. That would eliminate most of the background noise, but I know I can get it cheaper than that as well. Let's try just going straight from a search engine rather than looking in Google in eBay. So noise dampening, because I did spell dampening wrong, which obviously is going to make it a bit harder to find stuff. eBay. Let's see. Go 24 pack. Wait, what? This is on Wish. Maybe I can get it even cheaper on Wish. $13 for a 24 pack of 1 by 12 inch by 12 inch. So 12 inch wide, 12 inch high, 1 inch thick. So that's about 1 inch? About that much? I don't know. I don't know inches. And that's like $13. Down from $370. Yeah, that's a good meme. No, it's not. It's not actually down from $370. It was always $13. What are you talking about? $11 delivery? It's that cheap anyway. It doesn't really matter. Or you can get a 12 pack of 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters for $22 from eBay. See, it's not actually that expensive. Like, if you actually want to do proper... It doesn't even have to be good. Just some sort of noise dampening. It's actually pretty cheap. Like, I know some people like to say it's really expensive, but in reality, if you're just going to do it in, like, the cheapest possible way, which is probably going to be fine for most setups, to be completely honest, then, yeah, it's not actually that expensive. And if you're doing recordings like this daily, you can probably justify it. Obviously, if you're, like, not making a cent from doing content creation, I guess it can be a problem. But for someone like me, I'm not making much, but I'm definitely making enough that I can pay for getting, like, foam put up. But, once again, I said that I'll do that when I get to my own place, because I don't really want to do anything to that wall while I'm here. I guess I could get because we've got a whiteboard here, but I guess I could get like one of those big pin-up boards, stick it behind the bed there, like move the bed like maybe half an inch forward, and just stick a board there with foam on it. That's an idea, actually. I wonder how much a pin-up board is, actually, because if I did that, then I... This is a stupid idea, but I actually like it. I might have to do that, actually. That's actually a really good idea. I'm gonna write that down, and I'm going to do that afterwards. So maybe in the near future you'll see a pin-up board with noise-cancelling foam on it, but no promises. Noise-cancelling foam pin-up board. I cannot wait till I get a new computer. So right now I'm still working off of my Acer Swift 3. It's not like a new Swift 3. It's one from a few years ago. I got it as initially I got it as a display unit, so I think I got it like $150 off, which is awesome. If you can ever have the option of buying a display unit, buy a display unit, because typically they might have like a scratch on them, but typically they're going to be in basically near perfect condition, and you can get tons of money off. Obviously, you're probably better off buying like a second-hand device if you really want to save some money, but if you want something new, go for a display unit, because if it's a good store, they'll probably end up cleaning it for you, and then they'll wipe it, obviously, because people are going to be doing some weird stuff on it if they have it as a display unit. Like, they'll be trying to intentionally get malware on it. If you have a display unit anywhere, don't give it an internet connection. That's a very bad idea. But yeah, you'll save some money, and it's basically in near perfect condition, so win-win, basically. I wasn't actually planning to talk about audio from the start of this podcast. I did have a different topic I did want to start with, but I guess I got really sidetracked, and I don't know, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. So what I wanted to talk about straight away that I got completely sidetracked on was a few months back. I'm sure you guys know, because half you actually hear from that. I got that shout out from Luke Smith. Now, that shout out was awesome for my channel because it pushed me into the algorithm. Now I'm like growing really strong, and that's great and all, but it's done some weird stuff to my comment section. So for the first, I think like 2 or so weeks, there were tons of people saying, "You're not enough like Luke Smith. Why did Luke send me here?" Like comments like that. And I'm just like, what? Of course I'm not like Luke Smith. Luke is Luke. I am me. You came here because Luke said my content was similar, not the same. Similar does not equal the same. That should be fairly clear from anyone who has done a basic maths class or a basic philosophy class. Let's try to actually speak properly. So I initially had those people saying, "Oh, you're not enough like Luke," but it's shifted recently. So I had that video where I talked about the things that I can't say, and then from that point on, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 days ago by the time this is going to be uploaded on LBRY, and a bit longer from YouTube. But from that point, I've had a few people saying, "You're too much like Luke." So I've had people saying, "You're stealing ideas from Luke, your content is too much like Luke, your style is too much like Luke." I have no idea what these people are even talking about. So yes, I did do a video on the same sort of thing that Luke did a video on, because that is topical. Of course I'm going to talk about the thing that everyone in the world cares about right now, because that's topical. Of course I'm going to talk about Vim, because that's popular. Of course I'm going to talk about NNN, because that's popular. Of course I'm going to talk about BSPWM, DWM, i3, all of this stuff that Luke has already talked about, because it's popular. Same with like any of the other stuff. Did my audio seriously just clip there? How did that even happen? Okay, I'm going to turn my gain down a little bit. Which direction? That one. I don't know. How is my audio clipping? OBS, how do you... What? Okay, I genuinely don't know how OBS is this garbage. So we'll turn that down just a little bit. So it should be better now, I guess. I don't even know. OBS is actually the worst recording software I've ever used. What was I saying? Right, I'm too much like Luke Smith. So I did those videos where Luke has talked about them before, but specifically on the video where I talked about the thing that you're not allowed to talk about, the videos weren't even remotely the same video. I did title it similarly, and I did do a similar thumbnail, but for anyone who actually watched the video, and I can tell that half the comments didn't watch the video, because you had a bunch of people saying, "Oh, you stole this idea from Luke. Oh, stop stealing Luke's content." But if you watched the video, you would notice that the actual video content, completely different. First couple of minutes, I talked about what the tool did, because generally that's what you do in a video where you talk about a tool. And then after that, what Luke ended up doing was talking about, I think he mainly focused on stream manipulation in that video. And then on my video, what I did was I talked about where the data came from. These, not actually the same video. So I don't know where these people got this idea from, except I do. I kind of do. They got the idea from the fact that they can't... Then one, they're not bothered to actually watch the video. Yeah, that's actually the entire reason. They didn't bother to watch the video and like, oh, you copied Luke. Like, no, I didn't. You didn't watch it. I'm entirely aware that you didn't watch it because anyone who watched the video would know that I didn't do that. So, anyway, that's enough about that. I'm not copying Luke, and I'm enough like Luke that yeah, whatever. My content isn't Luke Smith's. It is my own content. If my style is similar, that's just because I've watched a lot of his videos. My style is also similar in ways to someone like DistroTube and Chris Occhipenti. Not so much Chris Titus Tech because I don't watch his videos. But, of course, I'm going to have some, I guess, similar mannerisms and similar stuff to the people I've watched. There's some stuff that I do that's similar to, like, some ordinary gamers as well. But it's my own style. I'm going to keep doing what I do. I've been doing this style from before Luke gave me the shout out. I'm doing the style now after the shout out. Nothing's really changed. I feel like I've just gotten better at delivering my content. So, yeah, just if you don't like the fact that occasionally I'll talk about things that Luke has talked about, that's fine, because even Luke's doing stuff that Luke's even talked about. If you've noticed, some of his content that he's done recently, like mainly the stuff he's been doing has been new stuff, but he has said that he's going to go remake a lot of his old videos, so now Luke is copying Luke. Also, DistroTube is copying me because he did a video on what was the one he did like just today? Give me just a sec. DistroTube. Because I know the thing is I know that DistroTube actually does watch my channel, so that's the thing. That's just in the frame. What's the video? It's not Emacs. I haven't talked about Emacs. What is the video that he did that was basically a copy of my video? Alright, it was the Suckless Tabbed video. So, he did a video on Suckless Tabbed, so does that mean that DistroTube's copying me? No, it doesn't, because it's a program, he's doing his own content for it. I know I said this would be, like, over pretty much straight away, and then I kept talking about it, but now it's actually over. I'm not talking about this topic anymore. I'm done with it. So, basically, if someone says that I'm copying Luke, I'm probably not even going to respond to you. I don't care. I do my own content. If it happens to be stuff that Luke's done, it's just because Luke's done a ton of content, I'm doing a ton of content, DT's done a ton of content, there's going to be overlap at some point. So that's enough of that. That's actually enough of that now. So, I've got this section here. If you notice, it's like blindingly white, and that's because there's sunlight coming through. And sunlight it's great for recording, and it's also my worst enemy. So sunlight, the problem with it is it's very bright. And the problem with that is that I have a light to this side that is also very bright, and I cannot adjust that one. I've got my two recording lights over here. They can be adjusted, but it's very difficult to actually balance the light coming through here because the sunlight is significantly more light than any of the other stuff that I have in my room. So I've also got like a overhead light as well. I don't use that when I'm recording because don't use an overhead light when you're recording. It's a very bad idea. It's just going to ruin your lighting. But that sunlight, it will get in the way of recording. And I don't know where I was going with this actually. When it's overcast, the lighting is a mess. When it's daylight, it's also different. Here's one thing, because of the way that white balance is handled, at least because it's being handled automatically by my webcam, when it's overcast, it's actually brighter. So when there is less light, it is brighter. Just wrap your head around that. That's the annoying part of lighting. I did get a nighttime recording setup actually working, so now when I record at night, my lighting it's not perfect, but I messed around with my webcam settings a little bit, and now it's usable at night. So I should be able to record when it's like 8 PM, and it's not actually a problem. Ugh. I don't typically record that late, because I don't really like recording that late at night. I end up feeling like it's a bit of a distraction to other people in the house, but when I do have to record that late at night, it is nice to have something that actually works. But that's not even what I was going to talk about. The thing I was going to talk about, the thing I was going to talk about was one of my mates had a suggestion for me. So I've got a mate who is a photographer, and he was like, hey, you've got a lamp over there, so you can't see it because it's blindingly white, but I have a lamp over there. And what he was saying was you should get one of those RGB bulbs and then just see what happens, basically. So what he was saying was basically make that back wall, like have a purple hue to it or an orange hue or just different colored hues to it from, I don't know what I'd plug into that thing. Like I'd maybe get like a Philips Hue or something. Maybe I'd try to find something brighter. I know there are better bulbs than Philips Hue and especially brighter bulbs than Philips Hue. So I'll probably get something like that and just see what happens. I might not bother with it, but it might be interesting to try out. Because I think I've got my lighting to the point where it's got a consistent color. So it's not perfect. I've improved it over time. It's definitely gotten better than when I first started trying to light my scene properly. But there's definitely room for improvement. And having a bit of dynamic light over that side that I guess kind of changes how the scene looks might be kind of cool. Because the problem is I've got this completely white wall, and that's fine. But it's also a little boring. And I've got this bed as well, which I actually didn't make very well, so it looks kind of dopey. I probably should have made that a bit better. But changing the color of that wall might make the scene look a little bit different. You guys probably aren't even going to take much of a notice of it. But I think it might make the videos look a little bit better. Like if you look at someone like DT's videos or Chris Titus Tech, their background scenes look considerably more interesting than mine. Mine kind of looks very, very basic, which isn't bad. It's completely usable, and really, if I don't touch it, you guys probably aren't even going to say anything about it. But I feel like I can make it look better, and if I can, then I probably should. It's kind of something I like to improve upon the channel, even if I don't have to. I feel like if I'm not trying to improve it, I'm kind of just being lazy with it. So, yeah. That's basically that. I'm going to try to make the scene look better. I don't really have much of a better plan because I can't... I don't know if you can really tell. I'm trying to move the chair backwards now. This is as far backwards as it goes. So I have moved, an inch away from the desk. So this room is very tiny and I don't really have much space to work with. That's what I was saying before about the pin-up board. If I was to do that, I think I can move the bed forward like a little bit and fit something back there, but there's not really much I can do to fix that. So while I'm in this place, I kind of just have to work with what I've got, and the best way to improve the scene is probably going to be with messing with the lighting. So obviously the other way that I can improve the scene is with what I used to do in the past. So I will grab that. That was probably great content. I don't know if I'm going to cut that out or not, but I've got these, I think I've got another one somewhere. I've got a couple of Pokemon plushies. I've had them on the channel before. I would like to, put them up somewhere. Like, if you look at, say, Lewis Spears' channel, when he does most of his content, it's in his warehouse, and he's got like a bunch of shelves behind him with like figures and stuff on them. I would like to do that. I'd like to do the same with like my bookshelf and stuff. If I had a room that was big enough, that's actually going to annoy me if I leave that sitting there. If I had a room that was big enough, I would have the bookshelf behind me just so it adds a bit of, I guess, scenery to the background. So when I do have like a dedicated recording area, or at least like an office space, I will probably put some stuff back there. For now, the best bet is probably getting that foam. I keep talking about this foam. I really should get it now. I've talked about it enough times in this podcast that if I don't pick up the foam, I feel like I'm just going to be lazy about it. Is that... Yeah, that's better. You could just slightly see my closet. Not really, I guess. You could see the shadow that was coming off of it. Because if I move the webcam about, I don't know, 2 degrees that way, there's a closet there. So, and it's got a mirror on it, which would be really weird for the recording. So I'm not going to, I'm going to keep the webcam very far away from that, because otherwise it's going to mess with the recording. So yeah, that's basically all of that. I was saying before that I was going to get a new computer. So I'm really out of the loop with computers. So I think when was the last time I was looking at computer hardware? Actually, it wasn't even that long ago, really. I think the newest cards... I was paying attention during the 10 series for the NVIDIA cards, but I think the last time I was really into computer hardware was probably the, 800 series? 900 series? Was there a 900 series? Yeah, no, there was, because it was the 970, yeah. I think the last time I was really into computer hardware was the 900 series for the NVIDIA cards. I don't remember what the latest Intel CPUs were at the time. I'm not even sure what the current ones are now, because I'm going to go with a AMD CPU on my new system. So at this stage, I'm chucking I don't have the list up right now, so off the top of my head, it's something like a 3900X, 32 gigs of DDR4, 3200 megahertz, some random motherboard. I'm probably going to pick a better motherboard. Someone suggested that I should probably pick something better that doesn't have as garbage of a VRM. So I'll probably change that out. I think I just picked the bottom of the stack X570 board, so I'll probably pick something a bit better. The CPU cooler, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I think right now I've got one of the 212 Evos on it, but I might switch it out for some sort of water cooling, just because I am going to be doing a lot of rendering and VM work, which is going to be hitting the CPU pretty hard. So, I don't know, I might stick like a H100i water cooler or something on it, just because why the hell not? I think I'm sticking like an NVMe drive in it, just because they're dirt cheap right now, and like a 2 terabyte mechanical hard drive, just because lol, why not? They're also dirt cheap. The graphics card I've literally just got there. It's like, I think it's like a 570 or something. I might go even lower. The graphics card is literally just there so I can have video output. I would get something better, but Kdenlive, it doesn't really support GPU rendering. It sort of does. There might be a way to properly get it working, but at least with an NVIDIA card, GPU rendering is just not a thing with Kdenlive. So that's a bit of a problem. If it was working, I would absolutely get, like, I don't know, whatever the more higher-end Radeon cards are, because the Radeon cards just, from what I know, they seem to just work better on Linux. I know that the NVIDIA drivers are a bit of a pain, and they've been a bit of a pain for me whenever I've tried to use them. They're inherently a pain on laptops because you're trying to switch between your inbuilt graphics and your, your discrete graphics. When you try to do that on Linux, it's a pain, but I imagine if you just have one, it's probably less of a problem. I'd still rather not run NVIDIA when I'm using Linux, though. And what else did I have to say? Some random PSU, doesn't really matter. I think it's like a 550 watt, 80 plus gold or something. And is that all of the hardware? Did I forget something? Probably did. The monitor. I'm going to do like a proper video about this where I talk about it all properly. But the monitor, I'm kind of debating about whether to get a 16:9 or 21:9. I'm not really sure. I've been interested in 21:9 for a while, but it will make using terminals a little bit annoying. I know that I could switch to DWM and use a centered master layout, which, if you don't know, basically a centered master is you have your master node, and then when you make other nodes, it'll put them along the side. So you have like a big master node in the center, and then off to the side, you have like little columns of other nodes. So that might be a way to do it, but I do want to stick on BSPWM. So maybe I will get like a better 16:9 monitor. Maybe some, I don't know, maybe 4K. 4K would be cool. They're not even that expensive anymore, really. But there's 2 reasons why I'm buying this computer. One, I want something better for doing YouTube videos. So the laptop is fine, but there's some types of videos where I can't really do. So VMs, I've tried to do VM videos in the past, but running a VM on this thing it's a bit of a pain because I barely have enough, I guess, CPU cores and RAM to do regular videos. Then trying to allocate some of that to a VM and trying to do it like that, it doesn't work properly. So I'm going to be building something a bit beefier just so I can do that. And then the other thing is that I need something a bit better for working on a uni project that I've got this year. So it kind of happened at the same time. I wanted to get a new system for a while, but the uni project does actually really help, I guess, push me along to get it. So I've got to kind of get it in the next couple of weeks because of the thing that I can't talk about. I can't actually do my honors project on campus, so I need to use VR hardware. And running VR hardware on this thing, not happening. Not happening. That's probably the best way to describe it. So I'm gonna have like a janky GPU for it, so it's not gonna run well. But on a desktop system, it's gonna be a bit better at least. Surely, it's like a RX. Is that what the Radeon cards are called? The RX 570. I'm gonna say that's right. It's probably gonna be a bit quicker than the built-in GPU on my laptop or the discrete graphic that's also in it. So I've got a MX 150 in here. Surely it'll be faster than that. I think for that project, it recommends like a 1070 or something. And okay, the thing is, this project does not require a 1070. So basically what it is like a really basic visualization. So it'll make scatter plots and 3D scatter plots and parallel coordinate plots and things like that. And it says that it needs a 1070 for this. I don't know how they've managed to write this code base in this awful way that it requires insane rendering performance for something that looks like it could run on like a laptop from 4 years ago. I don't know how they've managed to write it this poorly because the data sets they're working with aren't even that crazy. So the biggest data set you can import is 64,000 rows. You don't need something crazy to render that. Like, think of Beat Saber, for example. Beat Saber runs on a potato, and that game looks absolutely amazing. But for some reason, with this awfully written project, it just completely chugs. Now, I think the reason for that is probably because they are smashing the hell out of the garbage collector. So the project's written in C# because it's a Unity project. And if you don't know, when you do game development, the garbage collector is your enemy. So garbage collection is great. It makes things easy. But when you want performance, it is literally the worst thing that could possibly ever be made. That's why a lot of people like C++ and they use regular pointers, not smart pointers, because smart pointers, they will get garbage collected. Regular pointers, if you don't garbage collect, if you don't deallocate them, they're just going to sit there and do nothing, which is a good thing and a bad thing. So it's a good thing when you keep track of your pointers. It's a bad thing when you don't, because then you're going to have memory leaks that you don't know anything about. But when you are keeping track of those pointers and when you want absolute performance, having the garbage collector ever run is a problem. So typically you'll want to keep your garbage collection at a minimum or never. Actually, I guess it has to run once. It has to at least run when you shut down the application. I would recommend making sure the garbage collector runs then. But when you're generally running the application, you don't want it to run. Probably safe times to have your garbage collector actually do anything are like on loading screens or anywhere that's not really too important to have performance. Anywhere else, you really don't want it to get in your way, especially when you're in important scenes. So if you do like an object-oriented way of handling particle effects, your garbage collector will be constantly running. Please, just from me to you, if you're writing a game, do not write an object-oriented particle system. I don't care what language you're writing it in. Don't do an object-oriented particle system. Do it as like a big array. Do it as a data-driven system. So only use primitives, use an array to hold everything, and don't deallocate anything. Just change, what am I trying to say? If you need to move the particles, Don't do anything crazy. All you have to do, you don't need like a weird tuple to do it. All you have to do is change the value of the integer. And then when the particle isn't being used anymore, just have it just give it some flag that says don't render it. That's all you have to do. It's going to take a little bit longer to actually go through everything. So if you're going to say have a maximum of 1,024 particles, it will take a little bit longer because it has to actually loop through everything. But in the end, it's going to be way quicker because you don't have to ever run the garbage collector. If you're only ever doing stuff with primitives, the garbage collector will never have to run, and this will just improve your life so much, especially if you're doing Android development or iOS development, I guess. Just try to make sure the garbage collector doesn't run. Don't do everything with objects. I know that object-oriented programming is the cool way to do stuff. It's a bad idea for game development. It's good in some places. If you want to have like a singleton game object, that's cool. If you want to have your player as an object, that's cool. Don't do stuff that frequently change with objects though. So I would probably recommend doing like an enemy system with a data-driven method as well. I know some people aren't a big fan of that. It will make your life so much easier though, especially when you are trying to improve performance, because you're probably not going to have a problem with performance in your enemy system or your particle system. That's just a bit of basic knowledge about how to do game development. I haven't done a ton of it, but I know for one thing, you want to make sure the garbage collector, it just doesn't get in your way. So yeah, that's kind of everything about the garbage collector. How did I get to this topic? I actually have no idea how I got here, to be honest. So how did I get here? I'm completely lost how I got to this topic. I was talking about my computer, and then I somehow got to game development. I'm not sure. Going back to the computer for a second though, I wasn't really sure about the keyboard that I was going to get because I've gotten really, really used to working with the keys on my laptop. And every time I go back to a more traditional keyboard that has like higher keycaps, I've never really been like happy with it. I've tried mechanical keyboards. I get used to it eventually, but I'm thinking about going with a really low profile scissor switch. Now, there was one that I was looking at, so there's a really cheap one that I want to get, and I'm probably going to get that. But there's another one I wanted to get as well. So Cherry actually has a keyboard that is really nice. So it's kind of like, it looks like the keyboard on just every laptop, except the really bad one on the macOS, on the MacBook. So it's just like a normal laptop keyboard, but just not attached to your a laptop. So similar to the Surface keyboard, not the Surface. What's the word? Cover, not the Surface cover. It's like the keyboard that's actually built into the Surface laptop, but it's just an external keyboard. So like the older. Well, I'm blanking on everything. Not MacBook, the bigger one, the iMac. The older iMac keyboards. I don't know what the new ones are like. I imagine they're probably Butterfly, because, I don't know, Butterfly's garbage. But it's similar to those. So that's what I'm probably going to end up getting, just because I don't want to have to deal with learning a new keyboard. I've gotten really used to working with scissor switches at this point, and I'm just going to keep with them because, honestly, I feel like scissor switches are the best typing experience. Now, I know the big fans of like the buckling springs and Cherry MX Blues and any of the Cherry MX switches, or even the Topra switches. I know they're all good switches. I've tried buckling springs once. They're really nice. I've tried Blues or Cherry MX Blues. I've tried MX Reds. I don't think I've tried Topra switches at this point, but I imagine they're just as nice. I've heard better things about the Topra switches, but all the mechanical switches are nice. But honestly, I feel like scissor switches are probably the best way to type because there's a very short travel distance, and I don't know. There's just something about it. Now, I know that some people don't like the fact that if you're using the flat keys, you can't really tell as easily where your fingers are, but personally, I've never had that problem. Personally, I find it just way easier just to have flat keys, because then I don't end up bumping my fingers into any of the keycaps. So that's just me though. I know that some people prefer other sort of keycaps, and obviously you could probably get different sorts of keycaps for the scissor switches, but obviously they're not going to be as popular as the ones for the Cherry MX or Cherry MX compatible switches. I feel like when the patent, was it a patent? I think it was a patent. The patent for the Cherry MX switches actually ran out. I feel like that was great for the mechanical keyboard industry. So I remember before that, when you wanted to get a mechanical keyboard, the cheapest ones were like, I think maybe like $100 Australian or something crazy like that, which probably was like $70 US. And so that was how much it was before that. But now you can get dirt cheap ones for like $30 Australian, which is probably like $15, $20 American, which is absolutely crazy. If you think back, I think it would have been like 6 or so years at this point. Thinking about getting a mechanical keyboard for that price it wasn't happening. And once it became possible for all of these Chinese companies to rip off these designs, then it just completely opened up the market for people who just didn't have the money to try these switches. Obviously, the knockoffs aren't as nice. The Cherry MX switches, I've heard, are better tested and just better designed in general, but giving people the opportunity to just have those dirt cheap keyboards with those nice switches, I feel like it's probably a better thing for the industry in general, but as I said, I prefer the scissor switches in the end anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. So yeah, that's kind of all that. I don't know where that was going to go. I didn't really have a way to segue out of that, so I'm not really sure where I'm going to go from here. I just noticed it's getting really hot in this room. What is the temperature right now? It's only 21 degrees. Why is it warm? I have no idea. It's probably the lights. Yeah, it's probably the fact that I have 2 lights that are blinding me right now, and also, these lights are putting off a lot of heat, so it probably is that. And I've got a light off that way that's lighting up that back wall, so it's probably the fact that there's just a lot of light in this room that it feels really hot. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting the thing that I can't talk about. I did notice that the supermarkets are looking a lot emptier now. So it's only been pretty recently that people actually started taking this seriously. So up until maybe a couple of days ago, I noticed that whenever I went to work, there were always just tons and tons of people there, but it seems like it's kind of slowed down at this point, which is probably for the best, because a lot of the stuff that I want to go to is getting cancelled, and I don't want more of it to get cancelled. I hope that this passes within hopefully the next couple of months. I know that Trump thinks it's going to be passed by Easter. That's not happening. Well, Easter is like a week or 2 away. Actually, when is Easter this year? I don't even know. It changes every year that I never bother to keep track of it. What day is my birthday on this year? I know what date, obviously, before someone questions that. No, I meant the day. It is on a Thursday, so I think, I'm pretty sure it's the Thursday before Good Friday. Is Good Friday a thing outside of Australia? I have no idea. I don't know. So what was I saying? Easter. Yeah, it's not passing by Easter. That's not happening. Unless everyone just stayed inside from now and just didn't go anywhere, it's not passing by Easter. That's completely ludicrous. But I think it is possible that if people do start taking a bit more seriously, we can probably get past stuff by like May, June, hopefully. At least my uni, I know, is cancelled until June the 30th. I wonder what's going to happen with my exams, actually. I know that one of my mates has an online exam. I don't even know how that's going to work, to be honest. Whether they're going to do it where you have to be recorded while you do the exam, or whether they're just going to be like, whatever, just do open book. I would like the open book. That would be nice. Because then everyone just gets HDs because they're all going to cheat. Because obviously you're going to cheat if you do an online exam. Why wouldn't you? Not saying that I will, but hey, you probably are going to if you have the opportunity to do so. So I imagine that if you're going to have to do a closed book exam... My housemate's making a lot of noise. If you're going to have to do a closed book exam, then they're probably just going to have to cancel it or just make you record yourself doing the exam. I know I was saying before, one of my mates had to do that. They were in America at the time, and they ended up recording themselves for like 2 hours just doing the exam. But if you did that for 100 students, what, 200 hours? What's that? See how slow my brain is. About bit over 8 days, 8.5 days of just people doing podcasts for a 2-hour, people doing exams for a 2-hour exam. I don't think anyone's going to watch that. I feel like you're just going to have to go open book or just accept that people are going to cheat. Unless they're going to force... I don't think they will. I know some places probably would do this. They'd force you to install some, like, really crazy just spyware on your computer to track all your movements. I hope they don't do that, though. That would actually be funny, because I'd be like, I'm on Linux, I can't do that. So, are you going to make me fail the exam because I didn't buy a computer? Is that what you're going to do? Because I feel like I could probably get myself an easy pass like that. I feel like the student union wouldn't be a big fan of forcing people who either don't have a computer or don't have a computer that's running the software they need. I feel like the student union would have a problem with forcing those people to fail. But I don't know, because I've only got one exam this semester, and that lecturer kind of hasn't said anything about it, so it's kind of up in the air what's even happening with that. Whether it's going ahead or what it's doing, I don't know. I don't expect to find out until like the week before. This is the lecturer that I talked about who left his microphone on when he went to the bathroom. So he's not the brightest. He's smart when it comes to the topic that he teaches, when you can understand what he's saying. But when it comes to social awareness or being organized, he is completely useless. So yeah, that's lovely. I think I've got a second assignment for that course due in like 4 or 5 weeks or so. I'm not even sure what the assignment is. I probably should look at that, but I can't imagine it's too difficult. The first one was really easy. It was like a 500-word explanation of something that we heard in the lecture. I don't even know why it was an assignment and not just like tutorial questions. But what was I saying? Right, yeah, uni's a mess right now. Since last time, everything's been cancelled. So just after that recording got done, I got an email saying everything's been cancelled. So before that, they were still running labs, and they were still running, what were they? Labs and studios. So studios are sort of like workshops, but they're a bit more hands-on. So after that video was recorded, after that podcast was recorded, I got that email saying basically everything's cancelled. And yeah, so now everything's online pretty much. So my exams, my lectures, I guess for my class you can still do practicals, but for a lot of courses you can't really do it. So I've got a mate in a science degree who's got some practicals, and they've kind of just had to like rewrite the pracs. And yeah, so their pracs are useless because a lot of their pracs were actually getting industry skills. So if you can't do the pracs, they're not really even worth bothering with, I guess, because I think one of the ones they had to do was like, they were going to do an experiment, and then the prac they got replaced with was like, look at this data set and like, guess what the result of the experiment was, or something like that. And it's not really that productive of a class, so I wouldn't even bother with them, really. You know, I would like it if my housemates would not, like, make tons of noise outside my door, but what can you do, really? Maybe I can get a sign that says, please shut up, I'm recording. That could work. Maybe get a light. Like, glue a light on my door and then, like, have a switch on the other side, so whenever I'm recording, I can just turn that on and be like, I'm recording, be quiet. That's an idea. I could do that. As I was saying before, I can get one of those, like, stick-on hooks that you can, like... I don't know if they have these anywhere else, actually. They're actually really useful. So you get these hooks that you stick on, and there's, like, a little tape thing that you pull down, and it basically, like, pulls the hook off without damaging the paint. I assume that's a thing everywhere else, but I have no idea. They're really popular here because, obviously, a lot of people are in rentals. And, yeah... just being able to, like, hang stuff up, like, pictures and stuff like that without damaging the paint and obviously without putting holes in the wall is really nice. I don't know why I drank all of that throughout this recording. It's only like, what, 2:20, so it's not... I try to not drink coffee a lot just because I already have enough sleeping problems, but I tend to have, whenever I go to the shops, I tend to buy one, which is probably not for the best, so, yeah. Which is fine, because I'm not going to the shops much right now anyway. I kind of stocked up on food, and I'm just not going, like, unless I really need to, so I had to go get some bread before, but that, I think, and then I had to get some food the day before, but I haven't been to the shops besides that and work, obviously, since, I think, like, last week, because I've got 10 kilos of rice, 2.5 kilos of chicken, and once you have that, there's not really much of a reason to go to the shops much, so, yeah. So, what do I actually have left on this list? I kind of went on, like, some weird tangent there. Alright, for my... I was going to talk about this a couple of weeks ago, actually, but... Well, I forgot what I was going to say, right? So, my birthday's coming up, and I was getting questions about, like, what do you want for your birthday? So, this was before all of the stuff happened, so I ended up saying, like, just get me tickets to Frenchie's tour that's coming up, which now is probably getting cancelled, because I know that Luke Kidgels has just been cancelled as of yesterday or so, so that's, what was it called? On the Run. And Frenchie's got a tour called Ruthless, and Ruthless, I think the Adelaide show is in July or so, which is like towards the end of the tour. Is it? I don't even know. It's a world tour, so I think that's probably not even happening. I didn't even take a second to think about the fact that it's a world tour. If it's a world tour, probably not even going to bother with it then, because getting it from country to country is just not really happening right now. So I feel like I'm going to get an email soon saying that that has been cancelled, but I really do want to go see that. I saw Frenchie last year, and did I see Frenchie last year? No. Did I? Wait. I saw Lewis Spears, Luke Kidgel, Isaac Butterfield. Did I see Frenchie? Did Frenchie do a tour last year? I don't remember. Maybe I saw him. I don't even remember. I went to a bunch of comedy shows last year, and that was a lot of fun. I think I just missed out on Neil Kolhatkar's last tour, so I didn't go to that one. But I would like to go see him live, because I've watched a lot of his stand-up that he's put online, and it has been absolutely amazing. So, and obviously I've seen a lot of Frenchie's work, so I do want to see him live at some point. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. It's probably going to have to be delayed until next year now, which is a little annoying, but I guess it's probably for the best not having 100 plus people in a tiny room like that. But, yeah, what are you going to do? Everything's getting cancelled, sport's been cancelled. I don't really care about the fact that sport's been cancelled. I'm more worried about the fact that stand-up's been cancelled, to be honest. But, as I was saying, it's probably for the best that that has happened. But it is just a little bit annoying. But I don't know what's going to happen with that present, though. I guess they'll probably get the... You know, my family's really bad with giving presents. Not just for me, just for everyone in the family, to be honest. So what it usually ends up being is like, hey, what do you want? And I'll just buy that. I think last year for Christmas, I ended up getting my mum some, like, chocolate, because I didn't know what to get her. Usually it's just candles, because she likes candles, and candles are great because they run out. So you can just keep buying them, and you don't really ever feel like you're, like, wasting a present, really, because they're just going to use them eventually. Candles expire? I don't think candles expire. They're just wax. I don't know. Is anyone a candle expert? Tell me if candles expire. I'm going to assume that they don't, but I could be completely wrong on that front. So, I think my sister... Yeah, what she usually ends up doing is I'll send her my book list, and I'm just like, buy something off of this. I'll give her like a subset of the list, so I don't end up buying it before the date. But that's usually how I end up doing it, and I do the same thing with her as well. She'll just send me something on her list, and she'll like, buy one of these, like, okay, I'll do that. It just makes it easier, to be honest. I don't feel like there's any point really at this stage caring about getting birthday presents. Like, if you want to buy me something, that's cool. But I'm honestly happy enough if you just want to like show up, to be honest. I guess if you want to buy me some scotch, that'll work. Yeah, that's generally a good one as well. Scotch and candles are great because they both run out, so you never really feel like you're actually wasting a present. Depending on who you are, your scotch might run out quicker than others, though. I can have, like, a bottle of Jack's, and that'll probably last me, like, 6 months, because I just don't drink much. I've got a bottle of, you can't see it, it's in the wardrobe, because that's where I keep my alcohol. I've got a bottle of Vanilla Galliano in my wardrobe. It's been sitting there for like 2 months. I haven't even opened it yet, just because I haven't really found a reason to drink it. So I'm not much of a drinker. I kind of just drink when I'm in like social situations. I don't really get drinking by yourself, really, so I don't know. I don't know how well you can hear it, actually, but they're going off like they always do, so that's always fun. What else do I have on this list to talk about? I don't really have much else. If I was to talk about another topic on here, I'd probably end up going like way more than I wanted to record, so I could do that, or I could just stop it soon. So I guess I can give a bit of an update of what's happening in the supermarkets here. So there was a thing that I heard recently from, I think the Premier of South Australia. So he was saying that we're going to be banning gatherings of more than 10 people. And this applies to businesses as well. Now, I don't know if this also applies to supermarkets, because you can't have a limit on 10 people within a supermarket. So I don't know exactly what's happening there, and I'm not sure when the limit is coming in. I'll see if I can find it just briefly, because when I heard that, because I think the current limits are... What are the current limits? 500, I think? Maybe it's been dropped down to 100. So, let's see if I can find South Australia, 10 plus people gathering. I wasn't planning to talk about this, so I was, yeah. City shops. No, this isn't what I was talking about. Maybe I misheard this. News. We won't cope. Council bans events of 10 plus people. Maybe it's just for events. I'm not sure. This is Queensland. Go away. I don't want to pay subscriptions for your... Just let me go back to the search engine. South Australia, 10 plus people gathering. I know I heard this. Maybe I dreamt it, actually. It's possible that I'm making this up and I have no idea what I'm talking about. It looks like Queensland's done it. Maybe it's just Queensland and I just heard it on South Australian news. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're banning gatherings of more than 10 people, which is absolutely crazy. So yeah. I'm pretty sure it was being applied to businesses as well. So most businesses are just not going to be able to stay open right now. I'm going to assume that it's not going to apply to supermarkets, because otherwise you just can't keep a supermarket open. You don't even have... Like, if you just have minimal skeleton staff, you'll have more than 10 people in pretty much any supermarket. So you can't really do that for a supermarket. I know there was talks about, at least for my store, limiting only 50 people being allowed in the store at once. And I think that was including staff. So I think that ends up being like maybe, 35 customers at max if you're running skeleton staff. So, because I'm in like a pretty big supermarket, you're going to have a ton of people there. I don't know, you could probably go even less, because if you only have like 30, 40 people in the store, you probably only need 1 or 2 people on the checkouts. I reckon you could probably run that store with 10 people, except for the fact that you need to have the managers, and the managers' managers, and the managers' managers' managers, and then the night fillers, and the managers of the night fillers, and the manager of the manager. There's too many managers, to be honest. Like, if you ever work in a supermarket, you'll realize very quickly how many managers there are and how little half of them do. So I think my boss, he has a manager, and then that manager has a manager, and that manager has another manager, and then I think the manager above that is the store manager. It's just a supermarket. You don't need that many managers. I might have added an extra layer in there, but still, 3 layers of management is too much. I'm not sure what the upper management actually does. I've never worked it out. It seems like half the time they're not really doing much, but maybe I'm just imagining that. Maybe they are super busy all the time and they're doing tons of work that I just don't understand because I'm just a lowly little night filler. I don't know. I'm gonna say they're probably not doing anything too productive though. But yeah, that's kind of what happens with any sort of like massively tiered management. You're gonna hit a point where you just have managers who are managing managers, and then managers who are managing those managers, and they're not really doing anything useful for anyone. It's just kind of I don't even know why it happens. I guess just so you can have more. I guess if I was a CEO, I'd probably do this as well. Have tons of layers of management between me and the peasants, so that I don't have to talk to the peasants. That might be why they do it, actually. So if you have like 10 layers of management between the CEO and the peasants can never talk to the CEO. That might be why, actually. I think I've cracked the case. That is why we have managers managing managers who manage managers, because the CEO doesn't want to talk to you. There's probably an actual reason for it, but I'm going to go with that because it sounds more offensive to CEOs. Yeah. I think, well, we've been going for about a bit over an hour now, and the audio did get terrible in the middle there because of people talking. But I think that might be roughly everything I want to talk about in this video. As I was saying before, I could dive into one of these other topics I have here, but the ones I have here are pretty much still relevant regardless of when I talk about them. So it doesn't really matter if I save them for now or for late, or if I save them for now. If I talk about them now, if I talk about them later, they're not really timely ones, so it doesn't really matter when I talk about them. I guess one last thing I can end on is that Zoom is absolute garbage. So I'm in one of the Slack groups for one of my labs at uni, and it's got like, it's got some of the lectures in it, it's got some of the prac tutors, things like that. And as soon as they had to use Zoom for everything, and like this was like day one after being forced to do everything online, they were all complaining that Zoom is garbage and they wish they could go back to Skype. Like, they were in a Slack group. They could have just used Slack. I don't know why they didn't. It would have been far easier. Actually, better plan. Just use Discord, because Discord's been working great. The gamers aren't complaining about Discord. I think it's actually been more stable than it has been in the past. So, stop using Zoom. Zoom is garbage. Actually, no. Keep using Zoom. And the intelligent ones come over to Discord, come over to anything else, because if you let all of the boomers use Zoom, and then everyone else comes and uses Discord, Discord's going to remain great. The boomers are going to keep trying to use Zoom, and it's not going to work. And everyone else is just going to get some work done. So, hey, that's probably your best plan. But in the end, I don't think there's really going to be a good solution. We haven't really had any serious internet infrastructure problems at this point, but I feel like it might become a problem. I don't really know. Some people are talking about the fact that maybe as the quarantines go on, it's probably going to be a bit of a problem, but at least at this stage, we haven't really had anything. So maybe the internet infrastructure is stronger than we expected. Maybe some countries are going to have some problems, like the US might have some problems, Australia might have some problems, but I think the backbone pipelines are probably going to be fine. At least I hope so, because if they're not, then we're going to have some serious problems, because that would be very expensive to upgrade if you have to just upgrade the backbone lines between the countries. So I'm going to hope that they probably are fine, but individual countries or individual cities might start experiencing problems. To be honest, I'm actually surprised that Australia is not. I know that in Europe they have... Actually, no, I think it got expanded outside of Europe, actually. With YouTube, they limited... they didn't limit. I guess they changed the default setting of YouTube. So before, it was on 720p, and I think they dropped it down to 480. You can still go and watch 720 and 1080p if you want to, but the default is now lower. And that was done just so it's not like using as much bandwidth for just general content viewing. Because most people aren't going to really bother changing it. If they want to listen to music or they want to just watch some random video in the background, leaving it on just whatever the default setting is probably going to be fine. So I think that does help, but especially with a lot of people watching Netflix now, I feel like it might be a problem. Netflix itself probably is going to be fine, because I feel like Amazon probably has the infrastructure to expand that out. So the Netflix service might be fine, but whether your ISPs can handle it and whether the infrastructure in your country can handle it, because in Australia, we're still sort of rolling out our upgraded internet infrastructure, which is fiber to the node and then copper to the home, which it was a bad idea to begin with. We should have just done fiber to the home to begin with, because in like 10 years, we're going to have to rip it all up and redo it all again, because fiber to the home is just a better idea. But at least we have 50 down in Australia now, so we've got quick connections from 10 years ago. Oh, God. I can't wait till Australia... I don't know, I'll probably be 50 by the time that Australia has gigabit, to be honest. I know that you can get gigabit if you want to pay for a business connection, but it's insanely expensive to get that, and if you have fiber to the home, you're not getting a gigabit connection, so what you're going to have to do is get fiber to your home actually laid down, which obviously is going to be very expensive, and depending on how far the node is away, it's going to get very, very expensive very, very quickly, so I don't know. The switching to fiber to the home, or switching to a fiber to the node, was a terrible idea, and I don't know why anyone thought that doing it was a good idea. I know it's cheaper, but in the long run, it's going to be way more expensive because you're going to have to rip up that copper anyway. The copper is like 100 years old. It's not a good idea to keep using it for the internet. You're going to have to switch to something, so yeah. Copper's a bad idea, just use fiber. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. I think that's pretty much everything I want to talk about in this episode. I'm going to open up my window because it's gotten really warm in here. I feel like it's just the lights that has caused that, so it'll probably be fine as soon as I finish the recording, but yeah. I still don't have a way to end these. I guess once I have my intro music, I could also use it for outro music, but for now, I guess we're just going to end it on that, so yeah. I still don't have an outro for these, but anyway, I'm out.